Good morning. We are ready to have a really heavy-duty breakfast. It's more like a brunch kind of meal because we want to do a little bit of hiking today, so we want a good hearty breakfast before we take off. So today we are going to be having some Greek pitas for breakfast, but it's like a breakfast version of a Greek pita instead of a dinner version. But it's got the same kind of, flavors and toppings and sauces and that kind of thing. The recipe feels a little bit complicated, but it's just, if you do it in steps, it's not bad at all. So we're going to actually make a sauce. We've got a little bit of Greek yogurt here, some tomato, feta cheese, some cucumber, a little bit of garlic, some onion, and some spinach. And then we've also got the pitas that are gonna hold the sandwich itself. And then the meat that we have is going to be, we've got a little bit of hot pork sausage, a little bit of bacon, and then of course we've got to have eggs when we have a breakfast sandwich. So I like to just do this in stages. If I have help that's cooking with me, then it's a little bit easy. I say, can you make the sauce? Can you make the toppings? And then can you, cook the actual meat and eggs? But today I'm just doing it myself, and so I am going to start by doing the sauce and the toppings, prepping all of that. Then it's a super easy finish to just cook the meat and the eggs and then put it all together in a sandwich. So that's what we're going to do this morning. So I measured inside before I came out. It was a little bit easier to do that. So the sauce consists of this Greek yogurt. So I'm going to throw that in my bowl here, and I'm just going to mix all of this together. It's almost like a tzatziki sauce. I'm putting in shredded cucumber, and I need a 1/4 cup of that. So this was the, all of my vegetables, I pre-washed these at home. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link in the description below. It's how I do all my vegetable prep before a trip. So I actually like having some of the skin on this part of the, in the sauce. And let's see, so I use a shredder here. And just gonna shred this real quick. Ooh, that's bright and shiny, isn't it? One of the reasons I love cooking outside is if you make a mess, you just kind of, like brush it off on the ground. Sometimes if it's too windy, I actually will do all of my prep in the trailer, but it's such a beautiful morning out here and it's just a little breezy, so it's not too bad. So I'm just gonna weather the storm out here, the breeze. It's beautiful. All right, so you don't really have to measure everything, but I am terrible at eyeballing amounts, and so I just feel better when I do this. I think it's the OCD in me. You can half this recipe. It's a really easy recipe to half if you don't want to make it. This is going to make 4 servings, and we're good with shredding. I like this little shredder. If you don't carry a shredder with you, you can just kind of fine chop it. That works too. All right, this is 1 garlic clove, and it's not cooked, so it is a little garlic. When you don't cook, it's a little bit strong. We are a garlic family, so we absolutely love it. If you have garlic haters in your group, you should never invite them camping with you again. Just kidding. But you can actually use a little less garlic if you don't want this much, but it's not overwhelming, and it gives a traditional Greek flavor to this recipe. So I'm just gonna make sure that I mince it really well so nobody gets a big chunk of garlic. We haven't seen any vampires since we've been here, so we don't need that little extra help of being super garlicky after we eat. The last thing that's going in is the feta cheese. And then the sauce is done. Look how pretty that is. I love when we're using fresh vegetables and you get a nice, beautiful color with them. So I'm going to set that over here in the shade. And then I'm going to work on my other vegetables. Now these are the toppings that we're going to be chopping next. My little vine-ripened tomatoes. Now this, when we did our vegetable prep at home, I told you that my tomatoes were beginning to get a little extra ripe, and you can see that they are, they're still obviously very good, but I want to keep using these vegetables that are starting to get a little extra ripe before they get to the point that I can't use them and they go bad. So this is going to be a topping for the sandwich, so I want them kind of, you know, small-ish where they're easy to eat. What's your favorite breakfast sandwich? I mean, there's some that are really easy to make where you just kind of fry an egg and put it on an English muffin. We do those a lot. But when I want something a little more substantial, then I'm willing to go the extra mile here and make this a more hearty sandwich. And I love the flavors, the Greek flavors. They're, you know, they're not just that traditional camping kind of breakfast like bacon or sausage or, you know, and eggs. So that's one of the reasons that I really like this sandwich. And I like that it's so hearty that you can almost like get through like dinner with this thing. I mean, that's how filling this sandwich is. So I like to put these, my vegetables when I chop them, and I know I might probably have some leftovers, I'll just put them in a little container that whatever is left, I'll just throw that in the refrigerator, and then I'll use whatever leftovers on a salad or, you know, in another, like some kind of a breakfast scramble or something like that. We're gonna go on a really nice hike today. Actually, we have two here to choose from, so we haven't really decided for sure which one we're gonna do. And it is the 30th. Tomorrow is New Year's Eve, so we're going to be heading into Quartzsite and doing a little bit of shopping. We need a new American flag. Our American flag ripped over the summer while we were camp hosting on the rim, and so we need to get a new one of those. And hopefully we'll be able to see some fireworks and, you know, run into few more people while we're there. We met a guy here yesterday that was telling us that he likes coming here instead of going to Quartzsite because Quartzsite has too many people and it's just like one giant flea market, which is kind of funny because it is. I mean, there's a lot of shopping there in a flea market kind of setting. I think it's festive and fun. But we do like our privacy and we like our quiet, so that's why we're out here. I need a half of a small onion. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that much of this onion and dice that kind of fine so, you know, you're not getting big chunks of onion when you're biting into your sandwich. So the nice thing about this is, like, so this serves 4 people, and this morning it's just Pete and I. So I know that we're going to have leftovers, which is fine with me. And so I'll reinvent them in a non-breakfast kind of way. I love cooking extra food and having leftovers because it allows me to just kind of do something different with the food the second time around without actually having to cook again. So that's my choice. All right, so the last, we got 2 more things. We got a little bit of spinach here, and you just want this nice and fine. So roll it up, you know, like you do with a basil when you chiffonade. And it's kind of just, if you mush it all together and do some little tiny slices in there, it kind of is easy to manage. All right, now I'm going to throw that in with I love these little bento boxes. I mean, they're fun when you take them on a hike and you know, have different foods in there. But it's good just to use this way too. All right, now this one, I actually don't want all of this peel in here, so I'm just gonna get rid of some of that. Peel on a cucumber can be bitter if you use a regular cucumber. If you use an English cucumber, it's a lot better. but I like to have a little bit of that dark green in there, not too much, and then it stays where it's not super bitter. And here I want to actually dig out. I didn't bring a spoon out here, so I'm just going to cut this with a knife. And you want to dig out most of the seeds. Again, on an English cucumber, they don't have those seeds inside, so you don't have to do that. You pay quite a bit more for an English cucumber than you do a regular cucumber, though. So I just usually get these. So I'm going to just chop this guy up. And I like my cucumbers a little bit bigger than like the onions. I love Greek salads. So if I have leftovers for this, I've got plenty of spinach inside. This is a really nice salad. And with a little bit of toasted pita, they're great. All right, so now we've got all of our prep here done. So I'm gonna set this over here. You can do this on any kind of cooking vessel. So today, I love, I love using the Blackstone. All right, so we are lit now. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that on high and let that preheat a little bit. Okay, so you can actually just do this in a skillet, or you could do it right, on a flat top. And I feel like we might be tipped back a little bit, but we'll see what happens. So I've got my bacon here. One thing I like to do is do all of my raw cooking, or my raw like prep stuff at one time in the trailer, and then once I get out here, I wash my hands inside. Then when I get out here, I'm like not touching anything raw, so it makes it a lot easier to cook that way. Fry up this bacon and then crumble it up. And I'm going to use a little bit of that bacon grease to toast the pitas, because it's almost like putting butter on a pita, but even easier. In addition to the bacon, I'm going to go ahead and start my sausage. And the other thing I really like about cooking on the Blackstone is when I get this stuff finished, I can just leave everything right on here and serve right off of the Blackstone. And that makes it really easy for cleanup later. So I'm all about trying to avoid the extra cleanup. I only am using a half of a pound of this sausage. So I've already cut the tube in half, and then the rest of it I left in the refrigerator inside. We'll use that for another breakfast. You know there's an H when you're cooking on your Blackstone, so you know you got hot and cold spots. I mean, it's a pretty decent, because it's cast iron, and that heat distributes pretty evenly, but it obviously can't be completely even, because you've got the H heating pattern in there. I really love using Italian sausage or spicy sausage, because there's so much flavor in that meat. It's already done for you, so it's really nice when you don't have to pull out a bunch of spices to cook something, because the meat is already flavored. Smelling good. Smells like bacon. It almost always smells like bacon around our campsite in the mornings. All right, so while that's going, I am going to go ahead and start to crack my eggs. So you basically are just going to scramble eggs here. So I'm going to do that all in here while that stuff is cooking. And hopefully those are all clean. Hopefully I'm not going to make a huge mess. We'll see what happens. So far I haven't gotten a shell in there. Oh, that's pretty good. I almost am always digging out shells. There's one. So the easiest way to get a shell out is to use the shell to just pick it up. Do you see those two little pieces? That's genius. I don't know where I learned that, but I've been doing that for years. And since I seem to have such a hard time cracking an egg properly, I use that little technique a lot. Now I'm gonna let that sit there for a second because I can smell that this stuff is needing a little bit of a turn. So I think it's easiest to kind of chop up meat, like ground up meat, after you get it browned up. Kind of flip it in little layers. I could have a set of tongs out here. It would be easier to flip bacon, but I don't. And this works just fine. So I have a bacon press, but I don't have it out here right now. So I'm just gonna, instead of having this thing curled up, I'm all right here. I'm just gonna leave that like that and weight that edge down and it'll be fine. All right, so now I am going to go wash my hands. This is a great way to avoid having to run in and out of the trailer, and then you keep a little bit of your gray water out here where we just trickle our water so that we're not using a ton when we're out here boondocking and we have limited supply. I don't know if we should have a coffee or a little bit of orange juice with this. What do you want, baby doll?
I'm going to do some coffee here.
Okay. Yeah, Pete drinks a lot of coffee. We go through a lot of water when we're camping. Between our coffee consumption and the cat's water, just those two things alone, we go through a lot of drinking water. We drink some plain water, but we usually drink club soda. We like that fizz that it gives you. It's almost like soda, but not. It's better for you, right? Not that we're always concerned about that. A little bit of salt and pepper, and we're just gonna scramble these eggs. So I'm gonna put that salt and pepper in here right now. If it gets windy enough, those eggshells might just blow off. Oy. All right, and then I've got an egg fork out here to scramble. I'm gonna take 2 of these out for what we're making here this morning. And then I'm gonna, like I do with all of my produce, use a paper towel to kind of dry out the inside of this bag. I'll dry this out better when I get back in the trailer before I put it all away. So after this bacon is done, then we're gonna crumble it up. I can feel this hot spot over here. You can, I'm on kind of a medium-high heat right now. It's a little bit windy, so that wind will take some of the heat off of the top of my griddle here. But I would rather cook bacon and sausage a little on the slower side. Make sure that it's fully cooked all the way through, then try to really crank up that heat. If you wanted to, you could actually chop up that bacon so when you are done cooking it here on the grill, it's just ready to go instead of taking it off and crumbling it. So typically we will, when we're boondocking and we are limited on water, I'll be doing a lot of just kind of wiping out of our dishes, and I'll let the dishes pile up so that I'm using one batch of water for washing and for rinsing, and kind of do dishes like every second or third day, which actually is kind of nice when you don't have to do dishes every day. And that really helps when you're cooking on the Blackstone and all you do is, you know, spray it with a little bit of water, wipe it clean and oil it up and it's done. So love that part of the Blackstone. I can set the sausage aside and not have to take that off. The only reason I have to take the bacon off is to crumble it. All right, so I'm gonna take one of my plates, line it with a little paper towel, and then I'm gonna start pulling this bacon off. Yes, it's windy. Breezy, I should say breezy. As long as the bacon doesn't blow away, we're okay, right, baby doll? Now, I'm going to just set this sausage over here in this corner to let that stay warm. That's done cooking. The bacon here is also done cooking, but we need to crumble that. So I'm gonna let that grease kind of get picked up there, and I'm gonna move all of this kind of crummy stuff over to this side and toast the pitas. And they will pick up a little bit of grease, which is fine. Like I said, it's almost like butter, like you're buttering your pita. Flipping over my pitas, let those toast a little bit more. Throw this bacon out here. Then I'm gonna just chop it up. And Pete is always the bacon tester. If you haven't noticed, he tests all of our bacon and all of our cheese. So I'll never have bad bacon or bad cheese served because Pete's always around to test it. And sometimes he tests a little too much and we're short on the recipe, but that's okay. If I was smart, I would be making more. All right, so now that that's done, I'm gonna put it back over here so this stays nice and warm. I'm gonna put it next to the sausage. The hard part is making sure that when I put the scrambled eggs on here, they aren't running into this cooked food, right? And so I'm gonna take these guys off. If you have camp plates, I love them because they don't blow away in the wind. And if they're kind of a little bit warm, they'll keep your food warm. The opposite is also true. If they're cold, then your food gets cold. So it's kind of a love-hate relationship there. All right, now I did not see that the grill is substantially tipped in one direction or another, but we're gonna soon find out here. So I'm gonna start this over here in this corner and hopefully keep it away from that other stuff. And not let it go down my drain. You gotta be faster than the running eggs. So it's kind of a contest, you versus the eggs. So obviously I got a cold spot back there, which is fine. I'm just gonna keep pulling my scrambled eggs into the area on the grill that is hotter. Oh my gosh, I got a hair floating in there. That's one of mine. All right, so I'm just gonna roll these scrambled eggs around a little bit and lose a paper towel blowing in the wind. I'll pick that up in a second. So this is a veggie heavy breakfast sandwich. And so there's only 6 eggs here for 4 people. But it's got tons of meat, tons of veggies, and the eggs, so it's got it all, plus obviously the bread with the pita. All right. We are looking like we've got cooked eggs, cooked meat, and everything is looking beautiful. So I'm gonna let that sit there in the center. And I'm going to start to get ready to plate. Okay, so here was our sauce and our toppings. This actually is a really pretty sandwich. I love this sandwich. It tastes great too. So I'm going to start with a pita and pile on the eggs at the bottom. Okay, and then I'll put a little bit of sausage on there. Again, this is a super big, hearty breakfast, which is going to be great. We are not going to be hungry on our hike. All right, so there's all of our normal breakfast stuff. And then we're going to top it with some of our other toppings. So a little bit of onion, a little bit of cucumber, a little tomato, and a little spinach. And then, of course, our tzatziki in the center. And that is breakfast. Okay, I am not going to be hungry for like 3 days, but it's worth it. It's a delicious meal, and I hope that you really enjoy it. Oh, by the way, you'll find the recipe. I'll leave a link for this recipe in the description below. How's breakfast? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to be ready for a good hike, yes?
I need a napkin though.
All right, here. Here.